Alright, so I'm about to pop the transmission off of this Mini Cooper engine. I need to get this off. I need to get this wiring off of here. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And also, look at this. That mount is definitely getting filled. So to get this thing out, separate the top of this bracket from the top of the throttle body. You got this hose. You have these two hoses here. Just press these red things inwards and it releases the hoses. And you got this hose, 10mm bolt here that holds this side on. Got to remove the heat shield for the starter. That's gonna have to come off to get to, because the bolts go through the starter, through the engine, and into the transmission. And there's the starter. Just for your reference, there's two bolts that hold the starter on. Now I just need to go around the transmission and get off all these bolts that connect it to the engine. There's one down there, there, and there. So here's the clutch side. Seems that the dual mass flywheel is good. Does not play there. Does not play side to side. It's making a weird noise after I blew it out with compressed air. There was a lot of clutch dust in there. It wasn't making that noise before, but I'm not worried about it. Yeah, if this moved like a lot, then it would be bad. If it moved a lot, then it would be bad. Clutch disc is worn. It really looks worn. So, gotta replace that. Naturally, the pressure plate will be replaced with that. The flywheel will stay. I'll have a new throwout bearing. The other one is shot. So here's the transmission. It was a lot dirtier in there. I cleaned it up. Here's the throwout bearing. That looks original. Doesn't seem like there's excessive play in the input shaft. Fucking goddamn it. I don't think it's beyond spec, or however you friggin' say it. The fluid that came out of that transmission is pretty shitty looking. It's pretty dark and there's some metallic residue in there. So, yeah, that'll be another video. Opening up this transmission, figuring out what's wrong with it. It's either that or I'll just put new fluid in there, put a new clutch kit on, and put it all back together and call it a day. That noise could be coming from the throwout bearing, because that's definitely bad, as you saw. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I don't know. I'll just put some nice new fluid in here with some treatment like Lucas oil, which you can put in gearboxes and it quiets them down. And that's about all you can do for something like this without rebuilding the whole thing. Just don't feel like it. There's not a lot of play in that input shaft, not more than what seems to be acceptable. A bearing kit is like over $300. I don't have the tools to replace bearings in this transmission anyway, because they're all pressed on, or at least a lot of them are pressed on. There's a very narrow threshold about the time and money I'm willing to put into this car. Not spending a third of the car's value getting the transmission rebuilt or whatever. The transmission shifted fine, it worked fine, and I think it's just going to be what it's going to be. But it definitely needs a clutch. The engine definitely needed to be cleaned and resealed, so I didn't take this stuff out for nothing. And we have some good videos out of this, so hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. This takes up a massive amount of time and a lot of money running back and forth for little bits and pieces and parts and fluids and all this stuff. And of course buyautoparts.com is sending some parts for this car, and I'm very grateful for that. And when I'm done with it, it will be sellable. Before it wasn't sellable. It was so dirty and shitty that it was probably worth about $1,000. Now I'll probably be able to sell it for about $3,000. I can't wait to sell it. This car's been a nightmare. It's the first car I will lose money on. Usually I make money on cars. I didn't buy this one to flip and sell. I bought this one to drive back and forth to a job, and the previous owner said he had a new clutch and he always had the car serviced and all this, but he was a complete liar. And I will admit I didn't look over the car very carefully, because I kind of assumed that Minis were well built and that they were more reliable, but you can't win them all. I've been lucky so far with buying and selling cars, but this one got me. That's for sure. Yeah, it seems like an excessive amount of work to be doing for a difference of $2,000, but I wouldn't be doing it without the parts sponsors. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't have people who enjoyed watching the mini videos. Otherwise I'd be parting the car out and getting rid of it that way. Ultimately I want to get rid of this car. I want to move on. It's a fun car, and people seem to like the mini videos, so that's a positive. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more videos like this, more car videos, more machines, more boats. I'll be doing the clutch replacement in a separate video, so hopefully you'll check that out if you need to. See you then.